Hi everyone, I'm Richard, and recently I reviewed the PlayStation 4 Pro and came to the conclusion that there was a bit of a missed opportunity there. When Microsoft released the Xbox One S, it did so with a GPU overclock that could produce noticeably improved performance in games that don't quite hit their performance targets. The biggest improvement we saw was in Project Cars, as you can see here, and although Sony had ruled out any performance uplift for standard PlayStation 4 software running on Pro, we really wanted to repeat the experience there just to confirm that it was indeed running at the same speed as the base unit. And yet, unfortunately, it was. And that's a bit of a shame. Go back to the PlayStation 2 and that console had the ability to run PS1 games via backwards compatibility with additional texture smoothing. It wasn't a huge upgrade and it was offered at the user's own risk, but I kind of appreciated it. Fast forward to the release of the Pro and I would have really liked the opportunity to run older PS4 software with the additional power offered by the console. But what would it have been like to be able to toggle this on or off? Well, actually, I think I might have the answer. Weirdly, the Batman Return to Arkham package may give us some insight into what it's like to run base PS4 software with all the power of the Pro available, but with no actual specific optimizations for the new console by the developer itself. There's no patch as such, but if you play Arkham City on the Pro, you'll immediately notice that frame rate is higher. Here's the opening fight with Catwoman, 40 FPS or thereabouts on base PS4, and it's almost a locked 60 frames per second on the Pro. It's still rendering at 1080p and there are no graphical improvements whatsoever. The game runs with an unlocked frame rate, and so the extra power of the Pro is simply diverted to brute forcing out more frames. And on the face of it, happy days, a bit of judder on an otherwise 60 FPS game. Not bad, right? Well, if you've played Arkham City, you'll know that the frame rate is massively variable on the base PS4. Even relatively simple scenes like this one at the beginning of the game can drop beneath 30 FPS on base hardware, and the Pro advantage only seems to scale into 12 to 15 FPS territory here, which is not great considering it is over twice as powerful. But it's still free Pro performance, and it gives some idea of the scaling that is possible, even on a game as badly optimized as Arkham City. But the title's unlocked frame rate also demonstrates that system bottlenecks can come in many different forms. On this flyby scene of Arkham City, the performance improvement is minimal, mostly in 6 frames per second territory, suggesting that it's not the GPU that is the primary bottleneck here. And check this out, base PS4 drops beneath 20 frames per second and the Pro can only hit 25. You'll note that it's detail-intensive city areas that are causing the issue here, and it may well be the case that the draw call load on the CPU is the primary limiting factor here. And of course, the Pro only has a relatively small bump to CPU power, meaning depressed performance improvements overall. But even so, even in a worst case scenario, even if the Pro can only offer a small boost to performance, well, it could make all the difference in a game like Project Cars. And on a title like The Witcher 3, which can drop into the mid-20s, opening up Pro level power could at least get us closer to the locked 30 FPS the game was designed for. And that made me wonder, the second game in the Batman Remasters pack, Arkham Asylum, actually does have a 30 FPS cap. So is Pro mode enabled on that one too? And if so, are there any performance benefits? Well, this title is a lot lighter on the hardware and sticks closer to its 30 FPS frame rate target. But, well, the dips we get are almost perfectly replicated on Pro. So maybe the Pro flag isn't enabled on this one and it is running in base mode instead. But going back to Arkham City, well, the unlocked frame rate didn't do this game any favors at all on the base PS4, and the lurching performance is still there on Pro. But if it had a 30 FPS cap, it might at least have been a more tolerable experience. I mean, fundamentally, they're really bad ports, and I kind of think that maybe the Pro flag being active on Arkham City might even have been a developer mistake. It's certainly never been marketed as a Pro-enabled title, to the best of my knowledge at least. But it is fascinating as a kind of what if. An example of how performance on base PS4 titles could be improved, stabilized if you like, via brute forcing on the Pro, even when there's seemingly no developer oversight involved. Sony opted for total compatibility, so it locked down base software to run at standard speeds. But when Microsoft comes out with Project Scorpio, I reckon there's a strong chance that it will allow Xbox One software to run at faster speeds. Xbox One S has demonstrated that games don't break when more processing power is thrown at them. And the Xbox team has also shown with its 360 back compat program that games can run dramatically more smoothly on Xbox One via the extra GPU power it has available. And again, they don't break, they just work. So for PS4 Pro, I'm hoping that Sony reconsiders its stance on locking down base software to utilize Pro power on existing games, even if it's just at stabilizing performance closer to target frame rates. But as for Return to Arkham, well, the fact that one of the games runs more smoothly doesn't detract from the fundamental faults with that title, but it's been fun to look at it from a technical perspective nonetheless. Right, well, I think I'll leave it there. As always, do like and subscribe to support what we do here at Digital Foundry, and I'll see you soon.